Welcome back, Route 4 students. We're jumping straight into your vocabulary companion for Unit 2, Input 5, Part 1. Today, we are mastering 20 crucial words by dropping them right into the wild sci-fi reality of human enhancement and transhumanism. No fluff today, we're getting right to work. So, are you ready to upgrade your vocabulary? Let's dive in. We're going to look at how these exact words from your companion document describe the very real science of upgrading the human body. Grab your notes because mastering these terms, their forms, and their collocations, well, it won't just level up your English. It's going to give you the exact language you need to debate the future of our species. All right, Section 1, Upgrades and Alterations. This first group of words is all about the literal, physical actions we take to change ourselves. We'll kick things off with the verb to alter. Basically, this means to change something, usually in a pretty significant way. You can think of it like to modify. Now, in the context of our theme, scientists aren't just giving us vitamins, right? They're looking at how to dramatically alter our biology, like, say, changing our DNA so we might one day breathe underwater or resist radiation during deep space travel. When we talk about altering the human body, we are talking about fundamental shifts. Now, if you need the noun form, it's alteration. The adjective is altered, like entering an altered state of consciousness. But a really key collocation you'll see in your reading is dramatically alter. Okay, check out the contrast between these two really similar concepts. On the left, we've got augmentation, which is a noun. This is the process of making something larger or stronger. Imagine replacing your biological arm with a titanium robotic one that could literally crush a car. That's body augmentation. The verb form is augment, meaning to add to something to make it bigger. Now, on the right, we have enhancement, also a noun, but this is an improvement that makes something better or more effective, not necessarily just bigger. Think about upgrading your brain's processing speed so you can learn a new language in a single afternoon. That is cognitive enhancement. The verb form here is enhance. So both change us, but one is all about sheer strength and size, while the other focuses on optimization. Make sense? To actually achieve these upgrades, we often use the verb to implant. This directly relates to adding hardware right into humans. You are literally, surgically, inserting something into the body. For instance, you could implant a chip in your wrist to unlock doors and pay for groceries with just a wave of your hand, or implant a device in your eye to see in the dark. If you're talking about the medical process itself, you use the noun form, implantation. And if you're describing the device that is already comfortably sitting inside someone's arm, use the adjective form, implanted. Honestly, implanted devices are becoming a reality as we speak. Moving on to Section 2, pushing the physical limits. Let's see how our vocabulary builds on this idea of pushing past natural human boundaries. Let's trace a logical progression using 3 of our vocab words. Step 1, often we feel our natural, fragile bodies are inadequate. That's an adjective, meaning not enough in quantity or quality. Like our muscles provide inadequate strength to lift heavy debris in an emergency. Because we feel inadequate, we move to step 2. We use the verb to extend, which just means to increase or expand. We want to extend our lifespan or extend our capabilities. And why do we do that? Step 3, to build endurance. Endurance is a noun representing the ability to continue doing something difficult or painful for a long time without getting tired. Imagine a cyborg running a 100-mile endurance sport without breaking a single sweat. Oh, and the related verb form, that's to endure. So, the whole point of extending our limits and building endurance is almost always aimed at longevity. This is a noun meaning living for a long time or the length of time that something lasts. In transhumanism, the holy grail is human longevity. Researchers are constantly looking for ways to increase longevity. And we're not talking about just making it to 80 or 90. We're talking about living to 150, maybe 200 years. When you see this word, just think incredibly long, extended lifespan. Section 3. The size and scale. When we discuss the sheer scale of these transhumanist ambitions, we absolutely need some powerful descriptors. We frequently use the adjectives gigantic and immense, interchangeably, to describe things that are extremely large. But there's a subtle nuance you need to catch here. Gigantic focuses heavily on sheer physical size or scale. It's massive. You talk about building a gigantic structure that reaches into space, or operating on a gigantic scale. The adverb is gigantically. Immense, on the flip side, also means extremely large, but it stretches to apply to size, amount, or even degree. You wouldn't normally say someone has gigantic power, but you would absolutely say a supercomputer integrated into a human brain has immense power or immense potential. It implies a depth or vastness. The adverb form here is immensely. All right, onto section 4, the great ethical debate. Because, as you can guess, dramatically changing the human species sparks some massive controversy. Whenever we talk about changing humanity, two distinct sides emerge. On one side, we have an advocate. As a noun, this is a person who publicly supports an idea. Someone fighting for the right to legally upgrade their brain would be a strong advocate or an advocate of transhumanism. You can also use it as a verb, to advocate for change. On the other side is the opponent. Also a noun, this is a person who disagrees with or is against an idea. A critic who thinks we're going way too far. Just like before, you can have a strong opponent or an opponent of transhumanism. The verb form to remember is oppose. These two groups are fundamentally opposed on what our future should look like. And these advocates and opponents find themselves facing a serious dilemma. This noun describes a situation where a really difficult choice has to be made between two or more options. It's a profound conflict, no easy answers. For example, if only the richest people can afford to genetically upgrade their brains to become super geniuses, do we ban the technology to keep things fair? Or do we allow it and let society split into two different species? That is exactly what we call an ethical dilemma or a moral dilemma. Every choice has major drawbacks. The absolute core of this moral dilemma is whether we should use the verb to intervene. To intervene means to become involved in a situation in order to change or influence it, basically to step in. The whole debate centers on human intervention, which is the noun form. Should we intervene in a process as ancient as human biology? If a genetic disease is going to harm someone, stepping in to edit their DNA is a form of intervention. But where exactly do we draw the line between healing someone and completely changing what they are? And if we do step in, we have to deeply consider every implication. This noun means a possible result or effect that something may have, even if it's not super obvious in the moment. It's all about those long-term, hidden consequences. We have to think about the implications for society, the broader implications of splitting the human race into enhanced and unenhanced groups, and, of course, the ethical implications. Whenever you introduce a massive new technology, the implications just ripple outward in ways we can almost never predict. Which brings us to our final section, genes and learning. How exactly do these futuristic interventions affect how we learn? And what does it mean for future generations? Well, one of the biggest implications is that some of these genetic changes might be heritable. This is an adjective that describes traits or conditions able to be passed from parents to their children through genes. Meaning, if you alter your DNA to see in the dark, your kids might actually be born with that exact same ability. It wouldn't just be a surgery for you, it would change your entire family line forever. You might read about a heritable disease, a heritable condition, or a heritable trait. The noun form is inheritance, and the action of receiving it is the verb to inherit. Let's look at how learning and our species might change together. It starts with the acquisition of knowledge or a new skill. Acquisition is a noun meaning the process of gaining or learning something, like skills acquisition. Imagine just downloading a martial art directly into your brain. The verb form is to acquire. Step 2 involves dealing with the novelty of these strange innovations. Novelty, a noun, means the quality of being completely new, unusual, and different. Living with a computer chip in your head would have a huge level of novelty at first. The adjective form is simply novel. Finally, step 3. From this constant acquisition and novelty, these steps dictate how the human species will evolve. To evolve is a verb, meaning to develop gradually over time into a more advanced state. And the noun form, of course, is evolution. A lot of scientists argue that with technology advancing so incredibly fast, these biological changes aren't just possible, they are inevitable. This is an adjective meaning certain to happen and impossible to avoid. It's a very strong word. There's no stopping it. You'll often see collocations like an inevitable consequence or inevitable change. If you need the adverb form, it's inevitably. When you see this word in your companion, remember, it carries the weight of absolute certainty. And that brings us to the end of our vocabulary journey today. I'll leave you Root 4 students with this provocative thought. Is the radical evolution of humanity an inevitable consequence of our technology? Think about that as you review your vocabulary companion. Practice those collocations and master those word forms. Great work today. Keep studying, and I will see you in the next explainer. All right, Route 4 students, welcome to the explainer. Let's jump straight into it. Today, we're diving right into your interactive vocabulary companion for Unit 2, Input 5, Part 2. We're going to master some incredibly powerful words and expressions, stuff revolving around technology, robotics, society, and the totally fascinating world of transhumanism. Having a really strong grip on these terms, it's going to completely transform how you read, write, and discuss these advanced concepts. So grab your notes and let's get going. Section 1, Action and Advocacy, Driving Ideas Forward. So let's look at our very first word, which is promote. Now we're using this strictly as a verb here. When you promote something, you are actively supporting or encouraging its development or spread. Think of it like pushing an idea right into the spotlight so it can grow and actually gain some traction. Whether we're talking about spreading a brand new technological philosophy or advocating for better workplace robotics, the action of promoting is exactly what gives that idea its momentum. Now, getting the definition is one thing, but knowing how the word naturally behaves in academic English is where the real power is. You don't just promote some random object. In your academic texts, you promote research into new groundbreaking technologies, or you promote development of collaborative robotics, or you might promote a cause, like the goals of transhumanism. Pairing the verb with these specific nouns is what makes your English sound incredibly natural, precise, and super professional. And this is a brilliant example of how one root concept can take on totally different jobs in a sentence. Let's look at the word forms here. As a noun, someone who promotes an idea is a proponent, which just means a dedicated supporter. In your reading, you are going to see the expression proponent of transhumanism all the time. If you're taking an action to suggest a new idea, you'd use the verb form propose, and the actual act of supporting itself, that's the noun promotion. Knowing these different forms gives you so much flexibility in your writing. You're never stuck using just one single sentence structure. Moving on, our next core word is undertake, which is another incredibly powerful verb. It basically means to start and really take responsibility for a piece of work or research. It's so much stronger than just saying to do. When you undertake something, there's this heavy sense of commitment attached to it. It implies a long-term vision, something that requires real planning, effort, and serious dedication to see all the way through to the end. Look at how often undertake pairs up with these major academic endeavors in your companion document. Scientists, they don't just do things, right? They undertake research, they undertake a massive project, or they undertake a multi-year study. Using it just elevates your writing immediately. When you're discussing the engineers building the next generation of robotics, or the biologists exploring life extension, using undertake accurately captures the massive, massive scale of their work. Let's see how this builds into some phrase-level vocabulary. Check out this quote straight from your source text. As transhumanist technologies become more widespread, society will engage in growing philosophical debate. The absolute key expression here is to engage in. As a verb phrase, it means to actively take part in an activity or a discussion. You don't just sit and watch a debate from the sidelines, you engage in it. You bring your thoughts, your critical thinking, and your own voice to the table. Right, moving along to section 2. Foundation and design, building the future workplace. The big expression here is to be based on. This literally means using something as your absolute foundation or starting point. For example, your text mentions that AI personalization in the future workplace will be based on an employee's personal strengths. The artificial intelligence isn't just making some random guess about your career path. Your actual, demonstrable strengths are the literal bedrock it uses to guide your professional development. And actually, this brings us right back to your interactive vocabulary companion. I want you to take a second and visualize where these rich expressions are sitting on your page. Remember, you can literally click on those little icons in your document to hear the exact pronunciation, see video examples of the words in action, and explore the broader context. Seriously, use this tool. It is specifically designed to make these words stick in your memory long after this explainer is over. Speaking of design, this comparison is just absolutely fascinating. When we talk about collaborative robots or cobots, we use these two very specific expressions. First, cobots are equipped with sensitive sensors. That means they have these tools physically built right into them for safety and awareness. Second, they are intended for direct human-robot interaction, which means that is their core designed purpose. So, equipped with is what the machine has, intended for is what the machine is actually meant to do. So, how on earth do we achieve these massive technological goals? Well, by means of. It's a phrase that simply means by using a specific tool or method. Just like your text states that transhumanism aims to overcome human limitations by means of science and technology. It's a highly formal academic way of saying by using, and it instantly makes your writing sound so much more authoritative and structurally sophisticated. Okay, section 3, the human experience, life, empathy, and fairness. Now, it's absolutely crucial that we understand the fundamental difference between these two terms. Life expectancy is just the expected average time a group is supposed to live. Modern medicine has successfully raised our life expectancy by 50% since the 1700s, which is honestly incredible. But lifespan? That is the maximum actual length of existence possible for a species. Transhumanism doesn't just want to bump up the average, its ultimate goal is to radically extend the actual human lifespan itself. Shifting over to societal issues, we've got the word prejudice. This one is super versatile because it functions as both a noun and a verb. As a noun, it means a bias or discrimination against someone. A preconceived opinion that isn't based on reason. As a verb, it means to prejudice someone against a new idea or group. Its adjective form is prejudiced. In your text discussing fairness in the future workplace, you are going to see the powerful collocation overcome prejudice or eliminate prejudice altogether. To actually achieve that level of profound fairness, things need to happen regardless of certain factors. This expression just means without being affected by. For instance, the ultimate goal in a truly equitable workplace is that employees are treated fairly regardless of gender, race, or age. It means those factors do not, and ethically should not, change the professional outcome or the opportunities available to that person. And to help overcome that prejudice, we might need to lean on this wonderful, highly visual idiom to step into someone's shoes. This means to truly experience life from another person's unique perspective. Your text uses a really brilliant modern example for this, using virtual reality to step into the shoes of refugees. You aren't just reading a statistic on a page. The immersive technology allows you to actively imagine what their situation actually feels like. It builds deep, genuine empathy. Almost there. Section 4, relationships and barriers, connection and conclusions. First up in this final bunch is proximity. It's a noun that describes the state of being near or close to something, whether that's in space, time, or relationship. If you want to use the adjective form to describe two things that are positioned very close together, you would say they are proximate. It's a very precise, highly academic way to discuss physical space. So let's see what that looks like in action. While you're reading, you're going to encounter things being in close proximity, in proximity to, or sharing physical proximity. Remember our cobots from earlier? Unlike the dangerous old-school factory robots that basically had to be kept locked behind heavy metal cages, these modern cobots are specifically designed with sensitive sensors so they can work safely in close proximity to human employees right on the factory floor. Oh, and here's another fantastic idiom you're going to hear all the time in university lectures. To ring a bell. If something rings a bell, it sounds familiar to you, even if you can't quite remember the exact details right away. In the source video for this unit, the lecturer actually pauses and asks, "Does the name Huxley ring a bell?" They're hoping students will recall either Julian Huxley, the biologist who coined the term transhumanism, or his brother Aldous Huxley, the famous author. And finally, we've got the adverb ultimately. This is a crucial word that relates to what happens in the very end, or what is most important at a fundamental, foundational level. When you're writing your academic conclusions or summarizing a really complex text, look out for collocations like the ultimate goal, the ultimate aim, or the ultimate challenge of a specific scientific project. It immediately signals to your reader that you are talking about the final, most significant point. Well, that brings us to the end of our interactive vocabulary journey for this unit. You, my Route 4 students, now have the exact verbs, nouns, and expressions you need to navigate these complex topics with total confidence. But before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. Considering everything we've discussed today about technology, robotics, and society, which of these transhumanist goals will you ultimately undertake in your own future? See you in the next one.